everybody, it's Jade, and last video I did a massive book haul, so today I thought we'd do the complete opposite and I would tell you about the books that I am going to give away. I've split them into three piles. The first pile is books that I'm donating to my library, because I don't know if this is the same in other parts of the world, but in the UK libraries are very specific about what books they will accept. They'll only accept, at least my local library will only accept books that have been published at most 2 years ago. That doesn't mean they won't take like classics and stuff, it just means that the copies that they will accept have to have been published within the last 2 years. So I have a couple that were published within the last 2 years. The second pile is books that the company We Buy Books will buy from me. So they are sort of currently in a box here, and I'm going to send them off and get a little bit of money to, spend on more books. And the final pile is books that my library and We Buy Books won't take for various reasons, that are going to just go to my local charity shop. So let's start, and I'll tell you why I'm getting rid of each one as we go. So the first three books I'm getting rid of are going to my library, and they are the Eden series. So you've got Children of Eden, Elites of Eden, and Rebels of Eden. I enjoyed these books when I wrote them. I didn't write these. I enjoyed these books when I read them initially, but I doubt I'm gonna read them again. As I've said in previous books, like young adult dystopia is sort of one of my favourite genres. I've read a lot, and I know that there was a point in time where the market was just completely oversaturated with that kind of story, and you've got some really good ones out of the ashes of that, but a lot of just very mediocre ones. And I enjoyed this series, but it's not one I'm gonna ever revisit again, I don't think. So I'm just gonna donate these to my local library. So the first book that I'm selling to We Buy Books is this complete works of William Shakespeare. It's just sort of, I got it as an Easter present like years and years ago, and I've only ever opened it like once or twice, and it's just taking up space on my shelf. I don't need the entire collection of William Shakespeare. I may in the future pick up some like individual plays of his that I like, but I don't need the entire collected works. I mostly enjoy reading his poetry rather than actually reading his plays. I'd rather go and actually like see a Shakespeare play than just read it from cover to cover. So that's why that one's going. The second one is also a box set. This is a box of essential classics that I've had, that you can tell from like how sun faded the spines are compared to the covers. This was like a gift given to me when I was very little, but I have basically all of these in nicer copies. Like I have a copy of Heidi here, but I also have a nice like leather-bound copy of Heidi. So there's no reason for me to have two copies of the same book unless it's Alice in Wonderland, because like I said, I collect those. So I'm going to keep the nice copies, and I'm going to sell these ones. The next book I'm selling is City of Broken Magic by Myra Bollander. This was a book that I was reading with my book club, and I remember sort of enjoying it as I was reading it, and then as soon as I finished it and put it down, I just forgot about it and was like, yeah, I'm never going to read it again. Whilst it was fairly enjoyable, I think I liked the concept more than the actual execution, and like this very steampunky setting of the book rather than the story. So, and the fact that this is the first in a series and I have absolutely no intention of reading the sequels just tells me that, just get rid of it. It doesn't spark joy. Just get it off your shelf. I'm also getting rid of Solace by Gail Carriger. I picked this up because Leanne from Literary Diversions talked about it, and for the most part, the books that she recommends I absolutely love. I DNF'd this It's on my Goodreads book I will not finish list. It's another one where on paper I should have enjoyed this. It's set in Victorian England, and follows this, what's her name? Alexia. See, I've even forgotten the main character's name. Follows Alexia, who is soulless, which means that she has no soul, but it also means that in this world where vampires and werewolves and all that stuff exist, if they are near her, their powers sort of disappear and they become human. So the whole concept was great. I really like this. It's sort of a bit of magical realism. We've got vampires, we've got werewolves, we've got ghosts and things like that. And yet the entire time, all the author did was tell you about how terrible it was that this lady is Italian and that she has a big nose, and just talks about her, the fact, just talks about her weight and that she's a spinster and how awful that is. And I'm like, ugh. And I'm going to preface this by saying I am in no means saying that Americans can't write period English books, but it was so obvious that this was a book written by an American about Victorian London. And yes, and that was it, not in a good way. So this was a DNF, and I just want it out of my house. Wow, that got a bit more spicy than I thought it was going to be. I don't mean to be too bitchy about this, but okay, the next book I'm getting rid of is Eat and Love Yourself. I was really sad that I didn't enjoy this book, but if you want to watch my if you want to watch my July wrap up, I explain more about why I didn't enjoy this book. I loved the art style. The story was just very surface level and dull. The next couple are all sort of non-fiction books. So I am finally seeing, as I graduated my university degrees, I graduated my master's 3 years ago now. I'm getting rid of my Choosing and Using Statistics, a biologist guides book. I don't know why I held on to this one so much longer than I did all of my other textbooks, the ones that I actually enjoyed using, like my animal behaviour book and my invertebrates book and stuff like that, and I kept the statistics book. Maybe as a type of self-torture, I don't know, because statistics was the worst module ever, and I don't want this. I'm also getting rid of my Build a Better Vegetable Garden book because I don't have a garden. So I was keeping this for, whenever I move out of here and buy a house that has a garden, I want it to be a working kitchen garden. But I think when I actually had a flick through this, it's more about how to build trellises and things like that, and I know how to do that. What I was looking for when I picked this up was more of a seasonal planting and harvesting guide, which my mum has now given me her one that she, I think, inherited from my grandp, which actually tells you month by month what you should plant and when you should pick it and stuff like that. So this is it's just not what I wanted when I picked it up. And I'm also getting rid of Palette Craft. This was one of those Christmas presents that was very thoughtful, and sort of, it shows that the person who bought it for me does know me, and they know that I have very easy access to palettes in my work and that I like to upcycle and build things from them. But the only problem is I've had a look through this and the crafts in it are very basic and are things that sort of you just find on Pinterest, really, if you really wanted to look up how to build a bench out of pallets. It's a little, I don't know if it's because my job revolves around building things mostly, that a lot of it feels quite basic and self-explanatory. So it's just, someone else will get more use out of this than I will, so I'm going to get rid of it. Okay, and the final stack is the books that are just going to go to my charity shop. The first one is my copy of The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas. This is one of, I read it ages ago. I know the story, I'm not going to read it again. I enjoyed it when I read it, I liked the movie, but I'm not going to read it again. I'm also getting rid of my copy of Little Women. Only because I didn't know when I bought this that Little Women is a series. I don't know why, I thought it was just one book, and this publication of this one is just the first book. Whereas I know you can buy the entire series of Little Women in one book, so that's what I'm looking for now. I read it, I enjoyed it, I want to know what happens next, but I'm gonna buy it as a completed works. The next one I'm getting rid of is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. This one, I think, made the rounds on BookTube last year, and I understand why. It's a book about the aftermath of a global pandemic that decimated a lot of the world's population of humans. Well, that's what I was told it was. It's actually... I was told that this was basically following a travelling circus in this post-pandemic apocalyptic world. And it kind of was, but for the most part, it's just following the story of this one guy as the pandemic is happening, and his sort of life beforehand. And that wasn't what it was sold to me as. I was hoping for this, like, murder mystery type thing, that it seemed to be, like, all of the interesting parts in this, which involve the travelling circus and going through all of these little satellite towns that have sort of appeared, and the story of Station 11, which popped up in an abandoned airport, and the, like, the sort of the things that you anticipate reading about in a post-apocalyptic novel. There's, like, a weird cult happening, and there's disappearances, and you want to find out what's going on. All of that was just in the background and glossed over, and it was just following the story of this one guy who... I was like, no, go back to the cult stuff, please. I'm also getting rid of Milkweed, which was on my TBR for this month. I read it, I didn't enjoy it. It has a lot of similarities with The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas, probably because both are following a young boy during the Holocaust, but this is on the other side of it, whereas in The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas it's following the son of one of the camp of, like, Auschwitz commandants, who doesn't really understand the gravity of what is going on. This is following a young boy who is in the Warsaw Ghetto. And I understand why it was written the way it was written, because the young boy is very uneducated and slightly feral. But it was just incredibly disjointed, and the storytelling was very juvenile. And, yeah... there didn't seem to be a lot to it. I'm also getting rid of this very pretty copy of The Tale of Despero. Now, I realise that it's not even a middle grade, this is a young, like, primary school story for children that, like, I'd say up to maybe, like, 8-9 years old. So it's not for me, I know that. But I picked it up because I wanted to read the story, and I thought it was very pretty. And the art style in this isn't that nice, kind of. Like, the way it depicts the rats in this is very grotesque. But yeah, the story, it's not for me, it's too young. Which is ironic because I also have some Moomin books upstairs, which you can also tell I'm wearing a Moomin dress right now. But the Moomin books are books that I remember from my childhood, so I have that nostalgia, whereas I never read this as a little child, so the nostalgia just isn't there, and once again, someone else will get more out of this than I have. Okay, and the last book I'm getting rid of is the Frozen Planet book. This is sort of a book that goes alongside the TV series. David Attenborough is one of my idols. Like, all-time idols. He's the reason I did the degrees that I did. He's the reason that I want to get into the field that I'm still trying to get into. However, like, I love watching the documentaries, And I understand why this book was bought for me. I think at one point I may have also had the Planet Earth book, or maybe the Blue Planet book, and I also got rid of it because other than amazing photography, I don't get much out of these books. I have a bachelor's degree in zoology and a master's degree in wildlife conservation, so these books are made for people who don't have that kind of background, who didn't do a degree in it, and who are coming at conservation and wildlife and everything like that from a, I guess, layman's perspective. So I'm not getting any information out of that I don't already know. So the only benefit I'm getting from these books is gorgeous photography, which it does have a lot of, but I can't remember the last time I opened that book, so it's going out of my house. And that's it. Compared to the book haul, this is a very small book unhaul, but I try and do these at least twice a year. I tend to wait until I've got more of a stack of books to get rid of, so that I can try and sell some of them and maybe recoup some money. So maybe I'll do another one just in the new year after Christmas. But yeah, have I talk smack about any of your favourite books? Let me know. Do you agree with some of the things that I'm getting rid of? And I will see you in the next one. Bye!